and then go ahead, Deborah.
Hey, Deborah.
Greg, you are raising a lot of interesting topics tonight. You mentioned over the weekend about when you did the studies in the brain, each one was unique.
Oh, brain injuries. Yes.
Yeah. So my thought was on something that you were answering earlier tonight was, okay, so if you've had a lot of brain injuries and there is trauma stored there, like I'm guessing you have fossil around your brain, and that starts to unwind. It is there.
Yeah, so you remember the class that was in the middle of July? It was the mystical approach to psychic protection. And we went through like the different hemispheres. You remember that? Or in that class, that's what we were actually addressing. We were addressing some of the body mapping even then. And so like when there is a little bit of a issue, I mean, we didn't cover the whole brain, but we covered like the big pieces. And so when those happen, it causes like certain kinds of reactions to happen. And yeah, that's what that was based on, was actually the type that I ran that study group. Well, I say a study group, it was a research project back in like, God, it was like 93 or 94, where we went into a facility and we just treated all these different kinds of head traumas. And you know, the thing with the head traumas is sometimes they would, you know, these are more severe head traumas. This isn't just like I bumped my head, I got a concussion. I mean, these were like really severe, but they would cause like different kinds of behavioral changes. And so, you know, seeing it in the extreme, like I walked it back to like we can treat it more in the subtle based on things that have happened, you know, because like I probably have had 10 or 12 concussions, you know, maybe not 12, but 8. Like I've had a bunch. And you know, none of them were bad enough to cause like changes, but I just noticed that like when I got really fatigued or something, like my behavior would change a little bit. So I treated it, and over a period of time that behavior just stopped, you know. And so I would start with those, like, you know, we hit the different lobes, the occipital lobe, the temporal, parietal, and then we hit, we didn't do frontal lobe or prefrontal cortex, but we did the cerebellum, and I think the fourth ventricle is in that one. And so, yeah, you can kind of begin by working that. But a lot of times if you're just trying to unwind like potential head injuries, you know, because like I say that I've had a bunch of concussions. I would say, you know, being cycling, I broke a lot of helmets. You know, I don't know that I had a concussion or whatever, but like, you know, I hit hard enough where the helmet broke. And the way that I unwound that was a lot of helichrysm and then working those different aspects. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it does, what I'm understanding is it you can unwind these injuries.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah.
Okay.
Even really severe, like we were treating some really severe brain injuries, and the doctors were pretty floored at how good of results we were getting. The only reason why we stopped when we did was the board of the facility that we were dealing with got really weird about insurance, and they wanted us to spend, it was like $20,000 on insurance for coming in one day a week to do this therapy. And I was just like, we don't have a budget for it. So we stopped. But otherwise, we were rocking and rolling in that facility.
So like, I recall major injuries going really far back where I would black out as a kid.
Sure.
And
Yeah,
then, yeah, I mean, you just normal stuff for kids, right? And
yeah.
then
Yeah.
as late as 2019, when I got hit by a moped and went flying in the air and landed on my head, like I never thought about it because I was so focused on the other injuries. There's probably some stuff up there. And
There could be, with that, I would say head and then neck. Like that would be the two things that I would look at. And sometimes when, depending if you hit from the side versus more on the top, like if you hit more on the top, sometimes it will actually even move the rib cage a little bit. And so sometimes you have to look at the rib cage itself. But lots of helichrysum, like rubbing it into the scalp and into the temples, into the base of the skull, and then a lot of inhaling. If you know how we do that thing where we do the brain awareness, where you go, okay, I feel a little heaviness in this one part of my brain. Part of what you're doing is you're unwinding potential like fascial lesions in different areas, which are just like these little tiny spasms in the connective tissue up in the brain. And so that combined with the use of sage and rosemary and, you know, things that we use for the brain itself. You know, if something's really extreme, then we might need to couple that or augment that with some healing. But the oils are pretty good at treating those things. You know, in the old days, I used to do energy healing and manipulation. And sometimes we had to go slower with the manipulation because it would cause so much change. The oils are way more gentle about it. And so if I was to go back to that time, I'd be real heavy-handed with the oils, much lighter with the physical manipulation, and then augmented with energy healing.
So I'm kind of going down this rabbit hole because of all this vertigo. Am I trying to relate too many things? Is the vertigo?
The vertigo is
probably
more your
something-
neck. Like the
Well,
vertigo is your neck. Yeah.
but-
I mean, it's just mechanically your neck. Yeah.
Yeah. But when you just mentioned about that, that injury is probably the head and the neck. You know.
Could be, but still the treatment would be the neck, like really focus on the neck for the
Okay.
for the vertigo.
All right. All right.
You
Thank
know
you.
how we were doing those positional things where I had you like twist and go like that while you're inhaling and then like kind of back.
Yes.
Lots of that with inhalation. Yeah, because you're needing to unwind the sternocleidomastoid, the two heads on each side.
And that was the hyssop still.
Hyssop, charcoal root cleanser. Charcoal root cleanser works a little bit better than the hyssop, but the hyssop will work quite well. And the hyssop is more just for unwinding the inner ear. And if you don't have either one of those for the movement, something like, okay, then perfect. Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, you're so welcome. Do that for a little while, like a week, and see how it's going. But
okay, thanks.
You know, in that double, where did we put that double diaphragm? Where we did did you see the thing where I did the more involved release for the diaphragm, where we did the back solar plexus and then the heart, and we used two different oils. We used like hyssop, and then we used something balsam.
Was that in a recent class? Like
it was in it was in the newsletter like a couple of weeks ago, and then I'll find it. We'll send it to you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're so.
Yeah, I'd have to look